A very good morning. You're watching Rajya Sabha television. I'm Smriti Rastogi with breakfast news. Let's begin the bulletin with the top headlines of this morning. Big boost for India's fight against terror. BRICS countries issue declaration naming Pakistani-based terror groups including LET, JEM and Haqqani network. Prime Minister to hold bilateral meeting with Chinese President Xi Jinping on sidelines of the BRICS summit, says forum offers robust framework for cooperation. Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu says caste has lost relevance, blames political parties for keeping it alive for ulterior purposes. "49 infants die at government hospital in Farrukhabad, Uttar Pradesh in 1 month. Chief Medical Officer sagged. District Magistrate removed. 25 more children die at Gorakhpur's BRD in 48 hours. And Kim Jong-un is begging for war, says US presses United Nations Security Council to cut off oil and other fuel supply to the country. China reluctant. Prime Minister Narendra Modi addressed the Dialogue of Emerging Market and Developing Countries event at the BRICS summit in Xiamen city of China. Speaking at the dialogue, Prime Minister Modi said that India is moving forward with the agenda of inclusive growth and sustainable development. He also spoke about the need for global partnerships in today's scenario, stressing on the need to mitigate the menace of climate change. Prime Minister Modi said that the world leaders need to work together to create a greener world. Prime Minister Modi also said that a coordinated action and cooperation by BRICS countries is needed in the areas of counter-terrorism, cybersecurity and disaster management.
We would like to see such domestic efforts buttressed by strong international partnership, and for this we stand ready to do our part. India has a long tradition of partnership with fellow developing countries while pursuing our own aspirations for growth. At every stage, we have shared our experience and resources across a range of sectors, from strengthening democratic institutions to deploying high-tech solutions for public good. Our development partnership projects are providing water, electricity, roads, healthcare, telemedicine and basic infrastructure to people in dozens of countries across the world. And in all of this, our no-string-attached model of cooperation is driven purely by the requirement and priority of our partner countries.
And now all eyes are on the crucial bilateral meeting between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Chinese President Xi Jinping today on the sidelines of the ongoing BRICS summit in China's Xiamen city. This is the first meeting between the two leaders after the prolonged Doklam standoff that ended just over a week back. The meeting comes a day after India achieved a major diplomatic victory with China at the BRICS summit, where Prime Minister Modi got all member countries on board in the fight against terrorism. Here is Akhilesh Suman's report.
In a significant diplomatic victory for India, Prime Minister Narendra Modi was joined by Chinese President Xi Jinping, Russian President Vladimir Putin, Brazilian President Michel Temer and South African President Jacob Zuma in strongly denouncing terrorism. They also named for the first time Pakistan-based terror groups like the Lashkar-e-Toiba and Jaish-e-Mohammed. In a strongly worded declaration condemning terror, the BRICS nations compared LET and JEM to the Islamic State terror group. Adopted at the end of the five-nation BRICS plenary, the 43-page Xiamen Declaration stressed the need for an immediate end to the violence in Afghanistan. The statement by the BRICS leaders said, "We strongly condemn terrorist attacks resulting in death to innocent Afghan nationals. We, in this regard, express concern on the security situation in the region and violence caused by the Taliban, ISIL, Al-Qaeda and its affiliates including Eastern Turkestan Islamic Movement of Uzbekistan, the Haqqani Network, Lashkar-e-Taiba, Jaish-e-Mohammed, TTP and Hizb ut-Tahrir.
Terrorism is a scourge that has to be addressed collectively by the entire international community. And I think increasingly there is a realization that you cannot have double standards in tackling this scourge.
Although Pakistan was not named in the declaration, it makes a strong reference to the need for states to act against terror. It says, "We deplore all terrorist attacks worldwide, including attacks in BRICS countries, and condemn terrorism in all its forms and manifestations, wherever committed and by whomsoever, and stress that there can be no justification whatsoever for any act of terrorism. We reaffirm that those responsible for committing, organizing or supporting terrorist acts must be held accountable." Getting China to agree on a statement that refers to Pakistan-based terror is significant since it had resisted the move at last year's summit in Goa. According to officials, Prime Minister Modi raised the issue of terrorism strongly at the BRICS summit this time and was joined by other leaders who expressed willingness to fight this menace.
You cannot have good and bad terrorists, and it is a collective action. Members of the BRICS countries have themselves been victims of terrorism. And I would say that what has come out today acknowledges the fact that we must work collectively in handling this.
The BRICS nations also agreed on an India-sponsored comprehensive convention against international terrorism. The consensus statement of the member countries found a prominent place in the joint declaration. However, after being part of such a strongly worded declaration on terrorism and indicting Pakistan-based terror groups, it remains to be seen how China will act on the designation of Jaish chief Masood Azhar as a global terrorist by the UN. Currently, China has put on hold the proposal moved by the US and some other countries at the UN Sanctions Committee.
This would not be very easy for China to speak against Pakistan-sponsored terrorists. But once China has done it, it means it wants greater cooperation with India. Now, India might reciprocate it positively in coming days. Akhilesh Suman for Rajya Television with camera person Shiv Kumar.
Meanwhile, BRICS countries have strongly condemned North Korea's nuclear test, asserting that the prolonged nuclear issue in the Korean Peninsula should only be settled through peaceful means. In its Xiamen declaration signed on Monday, BRICS nations said, and I quote, "We express deep concern over the ongoing tension and prolonged nuclear issue on the Korean Peninsula and emphasize that it should only be settled through peaceful means and direct dialogues of all the parties concerned," unquote. The strong statement from BRICS countries comes amid global condemnation of North Korea's move. The declaration came a day after North Korea carried out its most powerful nuclear test to date, claiming to have developed an advanced hydrogen bomb that could sit atop an intercontinental ballistic missile. Earlier, Chinese President Xi Jinping and Russian President Vladimir Putin agreed to appropriately deal with the latest nuclear test by North Korea. The two leaders discussed North Korea in a bilateral meeting on the sidelines of the BRICS summit on Sunday. And after his meeting with the Chinese President Xi Jinping on the sidelines of the BRICS summit, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will fly to Myanmar on a bilateral visit. Prime Minister Modi will reach Myanmar's capital city of Naypyidaw, his first bilateral visit to the country. He is slated to meet Myanmar's President Tin Kyaw, who will host a banquet for him. Prime Minister Modi will also hold wide-ranging talks with State Councillor Aung San Suu Kyi. Later, Prime Minister Modi will travel to Bagan, where India is involved in a development cooperation project. He will also visit Yangon to hold a series of engagements, including interaction with the Indian community. During the three-day visit, both sides are expected to ink various agreements. The issue of exodus of Rohingya community in Rakhine state is also expected to come up during the talks. Besides, ways to deepen security and defense cooperation and implementation of India-assisted development projects are likely to figure during the talks. Earlier, Prime Minister Modi visited Myanmar in 2014 for ASEAN-India Summit. The Supreme Court has sought to know the stand of the centre on a petition challenging its decision to deport illegal Rohingya Muslim immigrants back to Myanmar. The court has asked Additional Solicitor General Tushar Mehta to take instruction from the centre about its response. The petition says the centre's decision violated international human rights conventions. The matter has been posted for September 11th. Advocate Prashant Bhushan, appearing for the 2 Rohingya immigrants, wanted an assurance that centre will not take any step, including deportation of the immigrants, till the case is heard. Violent attacks allegedly by Myanmarese army men have led to an exodus of Rohingya tribals from the western Rakhine state there to India and Bangladesh. Many of them have settled in Jammu, Hyderabad, Haryana, Uttar Pradesh, Delhi NCR and Rajasthan. On to some more news. External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj is in Russia's Vladivostok to participate in the 3rd Eastern Economic Forum. The visit reflects the importance attached by India to emerging opportunities in the Russian Far East and to its strategic partnership with Russia. During her visit, she will participate in the opening ceremony of the forum on September 6th, as well as hold bilateral meetings with Russia's Deputy Prime Minister Yuri Trutnev, Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov and governors of some of the Far Eastern regions. The high-level Indian participation in the Vladivostok Forum follows the visit of Prime Minister Narendra Modi as guest of honour at St. Petersburg International Economic Forum in June 2017. And Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu has said caste as an institution has lost relevance today, stating that it was time that governments shifted focus to inclusive growth. He blamed political parties for keeping it alive for ulterior purposes. Addressing civil servants in Hyderabad on Monday, the Vice President asked political parties to stop using caste as a tool. He also said that a corrupt system hurts the country and stated that inclusive growth should be the lone agenda for the governments. He also spoke of how Prime Minister Narendra Modi has asked him to make the Swachh Bharat Abhiyan a people's movement. Vice President was speaking at the 92nd Foundation course of All India Civil Services Officers at Hyderabad.
Governments of the day should focus more on inclusive growth. And every Indian should feel that I have a stake in this system. I am part of this developmental process. Otherwise, democracy, freedom has no meaning. Even after 70 years of Swaraj, some of these inequalities, they are staring at us. So we have to address them. I'm happy the governments are addressing it. Irrespective of political this thing, one has to address these issues of inclusive growth, bringing into the net of the development. Because development is the need of the hour.
And with that, time for a very short break. More news and updates on the other side. Stay with us. Welcome back. Businesses will now have more time to file the final GST returns as the government on Monday extended the last date for filing of sales and purchase data. The government also extended dates for the payment of taxes for the months of July and August. Now, sales returns or GSTR1 for July will have to be filed by September 10th and purchase returns or GSTR2 would be filed by September 25th. GSTR3, which is the match of GSTR1 and 2, will have to be filed by September 30th. With regard to August, the date for filing GSTR1, 2 and 3 has been extended to October 5th, 10th and 15th. The industry has been demanding an extension of the date of filing the final GST returns in view of the scores of invoices to be uploaded. The government will shortly issue notification to extend the date of filing returns. Moving to another tragedy struck a UP hospital, this time in Farrukhabad. In what seems like a repeat of the Gorakhpur incident, 49 newborns have lost their lives in 30 days at the Ram Manohar Lohia hospital. An investigation by the city magistrate said that deprivation of oxygen was the cause of most of the deaths. The DM, Chief Medical Officer and Chief Medical Superintendent of the hospital have been sacked.
In less than a month after over 70 children died in Gorakhpur state-run hospital, a similar shocker has come from Farrukhabad district of Uttar Pradesh. As many as 49 infants died in the last 30 days at the Ram Manohar Lohia hospital in the district due to lack of oxygen and shortage of medicines. The deaths were reported between July 20th and August 30th in the neonatal ICU and 19 during deliveries. Chief Medical Officer and Chief Medical Superintendent have been sacked. The district magistrate has also been removed. An FIR was registered against the CMO and CMS.
इसमें CMO, CMS और कुछ डॉक्टर्स के खिलाफ है और इसमें 176, 188 और 304 IPC के अंतर्गत मुकदमा कायम है। इसमें जो उनकी जांच आख्या है प्लस जो भी पुलिस को और साक्ष्य मिलेंगे उसके आधार पर कार्रवाई की जाएगी।
That Gorakhpur incident is only a tip of an iceberg. More and more smaller Gorakhpur incidences are occurring every day. The very fact 3 lakh children die before the age of 5 because of diarrhea, it means preventable death should be audited and no preventable death should take place.
The matter came to light after the state government took cognizance of the matter over some local channels' reports on the deaths and directed the district magistrate to conduct a probe. Taking note of the incident, a team comprising the city magistrate and SDM was formed to probe the deaths. The probe found that 30 deaths were due to lack of oxygen.
20 बच्चों की एपिलेक्सिया से मौत का कारण उन्होंने दर्शित किया है। अब एक एसेप्सिया जो है उसका जो है पूरा अर्थ निकल के नहीं आ रहा, क्या ऑक्सीजन की कमी है, क्या और अन्य कोई बीमारी है। तो इस तरह से उनकी नेग्लिजेंस वहाँ की प्रतीत होती है, यही जांच में निकल गया है।
Opposition parties has slammed the Yogi Adityanath-led UP government for the tragedy.
उत्तर प्रदेश के अंदर बच्चे मर रहे हैं, माँ बाप बिल्कुल एक बेचारों की तरह से खड़े हुए हैं। उनकी समझ में नहीं आ रहा है कि उनका भविष्य, उनकी औलाद जिंदा भी रहेगी या नहीं रहेगी, क्योंकि उत्तर प्रदेश आज इलाज को लेकर किसी भी सूरत में संवेदनशील नहीं।
The priorities of the UP government and the BJP at large are different. They are not paying attention to the health of children, the mothers, and the poor marginalized sections of Indian society.
It is so shocking, so tragic, and these deaths can be avoided if the public health system in Uttar Pradesh is properly audited by the government, and particularly after the Gorakhpur tragedies, when hundreds of children literally have died.
Meanwhile, doctors have gone on strike at the Ram Manohar Lohia Hospital after the FIR was registered. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And 24 more children have died at the BRT Medical College Hospital in Gorakhpur in the last 48 hours. While 9 children died on Sunday, 15 others died in various wards of the hospital on Monday. With this, the toll in the BRT College Hospital has gone up to 1,341 so far this year. The Allahabad High Court refused to stay the arrest of a Gorakhpur BRT Medical College doctor named in an FIR lodged in connection with the death of children. The court dismissed the petition by the head of the anesthesia department in the medical college, against whom an FIR has been lodged. He is among the 6 people named in the FIR registered following the deaths of children. And shifting our focus onto the international front, after North Korea's latest nuclear test, the US, while warning that Kim Jong-un was begging for war, is now pressing members of the United Nations Security Council to cut off all oil and other fuels to the country. However, China is reluctant to take that step. Meanwhile, US and South Korea are also getting war ready with military drills and deployment of more weapon systems in the Korean Peninsula.
Nuclear powers understand their responsibilities. Kim Jong-un shows no such understanding. His abusive use of missiles and his nuclear threats show that he is begging for war.
Saying that North Korean leader Kim Jong-un was begging for war, US urging the United Nations Security Council to adopt the strongest sanctions to stop Pyongyang's nuclear program. At a Security Council emergency meeting, Nikki Haley minced no words in pointing that North Korea's 6th nuclear test was a clear sign that the time for half measures from the United Nations had to end.
War is never something the United States wants. We don't want it now. But our country's patience is not unlimited. We will defend our allies and our territory.
The US will table a new UN resolution shortly to toughen sanctions that look to cut off all oil and other fuels to the country. However, there are doubts that it will work because of the Chinese reluctance to take that step. Trump earlier had also threatened that it would stop all trade with any country doing business with North Korea. However, with 90% North Korea's trade coming from China, Beijing hit back, saying that Trump's proposition was unfair.
接受的是，一方面为和平解决朝核问题付出艰辛的努力，另一方面自身的利益却遭受制裁或者损害，这既不客观。
The developments came a day after North Korea's most powerful nuclear test in 11 years. Nuclear test ban watchdog called the test as a last wake-up call for international community to act.
We're not speculating, but what is certain this time is that the physics of this event shows quite a large event. I think it only means that the nuclear weapon program of the DPRK has reached a serious and a different level. And that's what is concerning to the international community today.
Meanwhile, in a major military show of strength, South Korea carried out live fire exercises on Monday, simulating an attack on the North's nuclear test site. The country said there were signs of more ballistic missile launches by the North. South Korean president spoke to US President Donald Trump on the phone to devise further strategy to counter the North. 4 more launches of the US THAAD missile defense system are to be deployed, with the US also looking to have a nuclear-powered aircraft carrier to seize off the Korean peninsula.
미국에 대해 핵 투발 수단 확보를 과시하는 차원에서 ICBM급 탄도미사일을 발사할 가능성도 있는 것으로 전망됩니다.
Sunday's nuclear test, claimed by the North to be a hydrogen bomb, was accompanied by North Korea's announcement that the weapon could be fitted on a missile that could reach the United States. It was North Korea's 6th nuclear test to date. The US Geological Survey recorded a resulting tremor at 6.3 magnitude. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And a look at all the other international news and world wrap. Hurricane Irma has been upgraded to a powerful Category 4 as warnings have been issued for several Caribbean islands in preparation for the storm. According to the US National Hurricane Center, the hurricane has sustained winds of up to 215 kilometers per hour and is likely to strengthen in the next 48 hours. Irma is projected to hit the Leeward Islands, causing storm surges, life-threatening winds and torrential rains. The US state of Florida has declared a state of emergency. Fire officials have effectively stopped the uncontrolled spread of a massive bushfire on the northern edge of Los Angeles on Monday, but are still working to contain it. More than 1,000 firefighters are battling the fire dubbed as La Tuna Fire, which has started in Los Angeles County on Friday and has rapidly burned thousands of acres of land. California Governor Jerry Brown on Sunday issued an emergency. The massive wildfire prompted a new round of evacuation orders on Sunday, affecting residents in roughly 700 homes. In Syria, 2 Russian soldiers have been killed by artillery fire from the Islamic State group in eastern province of Deir ez-Zor, where the army is battling jihadists. Russian Defense Ministry said 1 serviceman was killed instantly and the second died from his wounds in hospital. According to the ministry, the soldiers were traveling with a convoy that was hit by mortar fire from the IS terrorists. Moscow announced earlier that it was providing support to Syrian government forces in their push to take Deir ez-Zor, one of the last remaining cities controlled by the jihadists. And on to the sports. Ace tennis player Rafael Nadal, Karolina Pliskova and Andrei Rublev have reached the quarterfinals of the ongoing US Open Tennis Championship at Flushing Meadows in New York. World number 1, Nadal beats Ukraine's Alexander Dolgopolov 6-2, 6-4, 6-1. 2-time US Open winner Nadal is on course to win his 2nd Grand Slam of the year. Nadal will now face Russian Andrei Rublev. Rublev beats Belgian David Goffin 7-5, 7-6, 6-3. In another match, top seed Karolina Pliskova of Czech Republic put an end to the American Jennifer Brady with a 6-1, 6-0. She will now face US player Coco van de Wege in the quarterfinals. And here are some updates from the world of sports and Sports Beat. Noted badminton player Saina Nehwal has returned to the Gopi Chand Academy in Hyderabad to resume her training after recovering from a thigh strain. In Hyderabad, Saina is also likely to meet Myolo Handoyo. Under Myolo, India has achieved unprecedented success with PV Sindhu returning with a World Championship silver besides winning the India Super Series. Ace Indian weightlifter Konsam Urmila Devi has bagged a gold medal in 44 kilograms weight category on the opening day of the Commonwealth Youth Weightlifting Championships at Gold Coast in Australia. Urmila lifted 57 kilograms in snatch and 76 kilograms in clean and jerk for an overall effort of 133 kilograms to finish on the top of the podium. Five-time world champion Vishwanathan Anand beats Malaysian Lee Tian Yoho in the first round of the first game of the World Chess Cup in Tbilisi, while another Indian player, P. Harikrishna, lost to Yuri Vidal Gonzalez of Cuba. Harikrishnan now needs a win to return to the match and then win a tiebreaker as well as to remain his 128-player knockout event. And the President, Vice President and Prime Minister have greeted teachers on the occasion of Teachers' Day. In his message, President Ramnath Kovind said, India has a warm tradition of Guru Shiksha Parampara by which teachers impart their knowledge to students and empower them. In his message, Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu said, teachers are the real nation builders as they shape the future of every child and mold him or her into a responsible citizen. In our country, Teachers' Day is a special day and thousands of teachers are honoured and felicitated on this occasion for an invaluable services rendered by them. I extend my warm greetings and best wishes to all the teachers in the country on the occasion of National Teachers' Day. And Prime Minister called on people to make the next 5 years about teach to transform, educate to empower and learn to lead. Prime Minister Modi had mentioned about it in the last edition of Mann Ki Baat program on All India Radio. The Teachers' Day is observed to commemorate the birth anniversary of academician, statesman and philosopher Dr. Sarvapalli Radhakrishnan, who was the second President and first Vice President of India. And that's all we have for you in this edition of Breakfast News. Keep watching Rajya Sabha television.